Faith isn't fiction. Freedom isn't free. Getting too comfortable brought on this mess. This is Freedom Forever Forward. Let's get uncomfortable. Hello and welcome to another episode of Freedom Forever Forward. I'm your host, Brian Rios, and let's get uncomfortable. There's something happening in our culture that many people have noticed, but very few people want to really talk about. Our public discourse is getting uglier. And I just don't mean the disagreements stemming from political stances, positions, opposing views. I mean the language, the profanity. Holy smokes. The casual, almost effortless way in which vulgar language has worked its way into everyday conversations, not just among comedians or musicians or entertainers, among journalists, pundits, and even elected officials. Think about that for a moment. We've reached a point in American public life where people who hold some of the highest offices in the country, people entrusted with writing laws, leading institutions, and representing millions of citizens, right? What they call their constituents. They're fine and comfortable using language that would have been considered completely unacceptable in public leadership just as recently as one generation ago. So you may be asking yourself, Brian, what is a generation, or how many years are there in a generation? That'll depend on the historian or the scholar that you're reading up on or whatnot, but give or take 20 to 25 years. So not too long ago. And what do we do nowadays when people use vulgar language, especially in the public discourse? We shrug it off. We say, Brian, that's just how people talk now. I've even heard people say, at least they're being authentic. What? But here's the question that I always ask myself. Since when did authenticity mean abandoning basic decency? Because words do matter. That's what I hear all the time. Language shapes culture, right? Doesn't it? And culture shapes the character of a nation. What shape is our nation in right now? For centuries, societies have understood something super simple. The tone set by leaders is eventually the tone that is adopted by the people. As a matter of fact, one of my favorite authors, John Maxwell, he writes a lot on communication and leadership, says pretty much that in every single one of his books. Leadership sets the tone. And this is true for any kind of organization, be it ecclesiastical, government, be it civic, educational, so on and so forth. And as a matter of fact, scripture speaks directly to this idea. In the book of Proverbs, we read, a wholesome tongue is a tree of life, but perversiveness therein is a breach in the spirit. That's Proverbs 15, verse 4. In other words, the way we speak can either build up the spirit of a community or erode it. Now, let's be honest, profanity has always existed, guys. Humans have always had the ability to speak crudely with each other. But historically, there were boundaries. There were places where people understood that dignity and restraint mattered. You might hear foul language in a bar or backstage in a rock concert or whatnot, but you didn't ever hear it from the podium of a governor, a senator, a congressman or congresswoman, and much less from a president. Today, those boundaries are dissolving. And much of that shift has been normalized through none other than, guess who? The entertainment industry. Just listen to popular music today. A lot of modern music has that little parental advisory sticker, and it's all elusive to language, right? Watch primetime television on any streaming service or any channel these days. Just walk into any movie theater and watch any modern film. Profanity isn't just present, it's constant. We're being bombarded by it left and right. And in many cases, it's the entire vocabulary practically of the dialogue that's going on. Now, I'm not here to police Hollywood. That's not my job. The entertainment industry has been known for pushing the cultural boundaries for decades. That's what they do. But when that same casual vulgarity begins showing up in the speech of our political leaders, something deeper is happening. It means we've lowered our expectations, and expectations matter, especially for those who claim to represent values rooted in faith and moral responsibility. This is where we as Christian conservatives need to look in the mirror. Because if we say that we believe in restoring moral clarity to the culture, if we say believing in strengthening families and raising standards of public behavior, then we cannot turn a blind eye when people on our own political side adopt the same vulgar habits that we criticize in the culture. Integrity means consistency. If profanity degrades public discourse when it comes from entertainers, it certainly degrades public discourse when it comes from politicians too. Now, party affiliation does not magically make vulgarity acceptable. No. And as voters, we have responsibility here. The leaders that we tolerate become the leaders that we deserve. Yep, let me say that one more time. The leaders that we tolerate become the leaders that we deserve. If we laugh when a politician uses crude language because we like their policy positions and stances, if we excuse vulgar rhetoric because it targets people that we disagree with, then we're participating in the very cultural decline that we claim to oppose. Scripture again gives us guidance. In the New Testament, the Apostle Paul writes, "Let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth, but that which is good to the use of edifying." That's Ephesians chapter 4, verse 29. Notice what Paul emphasizes. Speech that edifies, speech that builds up rather than tear down. That standard applies to individuals, but it certainly applies to leaders. Now, leadership carries influence, influence carries responsibility, and responsibility demands discipline. Now, let me be clear. Demanding decency from our political leaders does not mean demanding perfection. All of us humans make mistakes. All of us say things that we regret. But there's a difference between occasional human error and a cultural environment where vulgarity becomes normal. And right now, normal is drifting in the wrong direction. Christian conservatives often talk about reclaiming culture. But reclaiming culture doesn't begin with legislation, brothers and sisters, fellow Americans. It begins with expectations. It begins at home. It begins with us. We should expect more from those who seek power, no doubt. We should expect leaders who speak with dignity, leaders who understand that words shape the moral atmosphere of the nation. And if we truly believe faith should inform public life, then our political leaders should demonstrate something increasingly rare in modern discourse. Ready? Self-control, respect, and common decency. Oh my goodness, right? The health of a nation is not measured by its economic strength or military power. It's measured by its character. And the character reveals itself first in the words that we choose to speak. So maybe it's time we raise that standard again, but not out of nostalgia, not out of self-righteousness, but because a free society deserves leaders who understand that public service is not just about wielding power. I'll give you an example. On January the 11th of 1989, our nation's 40th president, Ronald Reagan, he pronounced his farewell address from the Oval Office at the White House. And towards the end of his speech, he reflected on the following. I want to read word for word because I don't want to mess it up. He said, The past few days, when I've been at that window upstairs, I thought a bit about the shining city upon a hill. The phrase comes from John Winthrop, who wrote it to describe the America he imagined. What he imagined was important because he was an early pilgrim, an early freedom man. He journeyed here on what today we'd call a little wooden boat. And like the other pilgrims, he was looking for a home that would be free. End of quote. Notice how President Reagan describes America as the shining city upon a hill. It's about setting an example. And examples begin with something as simple and as powerful as the language that we use, or that we choose to use. Thank you for lending me your ears, your minds, and your hearts. That's my time and my message for today. Please hit that subscribe button and make sure that you share this video with someone that you care about. I'm your host, Brian Rios, and let's move freedom forever forward. Let's move faith, freedom, and this nation forward. Now, if this challenges you, share it. If it changed you, subscribe.